How's it going, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. Why does Netflix always take great concepts and then slap the generic logo on it? Project Power, directed by Henry Juice and Ariel Schulman, stars Jamie Foxx, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Dominique Fishback. The story is centered around this pill that gives anybody a random superpower for 5 minutes, and it quickly becomes the biggest thing that everyone wants to get their hands on. The pill, however, can prove to be a very dangerous new drug, which causes a drug dealer, cop, and ex-soldier to find the source of the drug and end the distribution of it. Netflix already released their other superhero-like movie called The Old Guard, and I've already talked about it on this channel before if you want to go and check it out. And much like that film, I was pretty interested to see how Netflix would deal with such an interesting concept. I mean, having a drug that can grant anybody a certain superpower is already a very interesting concept, and some of the powers that are on display throughout this movie are ones such as bursting into a ball of fire, you can become camouflage, bulletproof skin, you can explode and die.
What? What the fuck?
And so many other possibilities on display. And seeing that there's hundreds of people in the city, as well as the fact that the pill has a wide range of possibilities for superpowers, I was very curious to see how it would end up playing out in this movie. However, much like The Old Guard, the movie decided to take a very interesting concept, and it ended up making it feel like a complete waste of time. And don't get me wrong, unlike The Old Guard, I actually found myself a little bit more invested in this story, and there were actually quite a few things that I enjoyed. For instance, having the inclusion of Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this movie, I think is a major step in the right direction, and I can consider it a big win. Both of them had some very great performances throughout this movie, and I think they did a good job throughout. But I could go on about how great they are for days, but let's be honest, they're pretty much good in any movie they're in. And as much as I enjoyed Jamie Foxx and Joseph Gordon-Levitt in this movie, I also have to give credit to Dominique Fishback with her performance as Robin. She's the drug dealer in the film who also happens to be going to school, but needs ways to make money in order to help her mom, so she ends up selling the new pill. She's also aspiring to be a rapper, and let's just say that Dominique Fishback has some killer rhymes throughout this movie, and it's best that you see for yourself. I also really enjoyed the chemistry that she had with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Jamie Foxx. With Levitt, you can see the history that both characters have with each other, and they make for a pretty nice duo. As with Foxx, him and Fishback do have some pretty nice scenes with each other, and I was always excited to see them together in this movie. And they have some very fun interactions with each other. And being a movie all about superpowers, they even went ahead to make a reference to Batman and Robin, which I think was a very nice touch for the duo. And, you know, without them, the movie probably wouldn't have done as well as it did. And with any action film that I watch, I'm always down to see a great action sequence, and let's just say that Project Power definitely delivered. There's so many of them that happen throughout this movie, and sometimes they even happen back to back. Every one of them were fast-paced and done so well that they had me excited. The cinematography was also a big factor that helped in making them even better, especially during the ending with Jamie Foxx. It was the only moment during this film that actually managed to give me the chills because it was that amazing. But despite the fact that I enjoyed the performances and the action sequences throughout this movie, Project Power ends up suffering the same problems that The Old Guard did, and it's actually pretty jarring how similar the problems are. Like I said, the whole concept of a pill granting anybody a random superpower is already a very interesting concept from the get-go, and I was pretty excited to see how the process played out on screen. But then, something that the film did from the very beginning that confused me was how rushed the intro to these powers felt. As you may or may not know, I'm a huge fan when it comes to showing and not telling in movies. When the film introduces us to the drug and explains the effects it has, we eventually find out that it was being sold across the city. But what the film does is tell you what kinds of things are happening, such as people picking up cars, people having strange reactions to the drug, etc. And seeing how there's a wide range of possibilities for superpowers, I think it would have been nice for the film to show us all the powers that people were experiencing, instead of just telling us that it was happening on screen. Oh my god, that guy's picking up a freaking car, and it actually looks pretty badass. That guy, he's shooting electricity out of his hands, and that also looks badass. Look at that guy, he's shooting fire out of his butt. But the film doesn't want to show you that. It seemed like this movie was going to take the route of showing us the effects of this pill and showing us how people may be living with these new powers. But instead, like The Old Guard, it decides to take a really cool concept and just throw it out the window for a great story. and instead it just takes the route of another generic plotline. The story ends up turning into a rescue mission with Jamie Foxx wanting to go and rescue his daughter from the big bad drug dealers, and honestly, the daughter just feels like a plot device considering that she barely has any lines throughout this movie, and we hardly get to see her in it at all, except through flashbacks. The movie never went ahead to establish a personality for the daughter, and it honestly just felt like Jamie Foxx had more of a connection with Fishback than anything. Along with that, there's the subplot of them trying to stop the bad guys from producing the drug all over the world for everyone to enjoy. Yeah, because I definitely haven't seen that in a Netflix film that dealt with superpowers yet. It's quite a shame too, because mass producing these random superpowers to the world honestly sounded a lot more interesting than producing the powers of immortality. But at the same time, it decided to take the generic plot route, which was very disappointing to watch, and it seemed like these random superpowers weren't really the main focus of the story anymore. The powers felt more like a plot device more than anything, with the characters using the drug to get out of tough situations and whatnot. And speaking of which, they emphasize the fact that the powers the pill provides can be unique, and it seems like they would have tons of possibilities. However, during the middle part of this movie, they end up saying that the pill provides animal powers. Why are we talking about animals all of a sudden? Earlier in the movie, it shows a guy becoming a deadly ball of fire. We hear that someone has super strength, and there's even a moment when they show a lady having ice powers, pretty much like Elsa. They end up explaining that the ice powers are just incredibly rare, but it seems like the movie was confused on what type of powers they were dealing with. If there's any animal out there that can become a big ball of fire all of a sudden, or shoot ice breath from their mouth, please let me know in the comments below what kind of animal that is, because I'm really curious to know. But I don't know, something about that really confused me while watching this movie, and it kind of eliminated the whole unique factor of the powers. And if this is the case of the movie, that they want to produce animal powers to the city, what kind of sick villain wants to turn civilians into animals? Do you want your own petting zoo or something? Is it some kind of weird fetish? I just don't follow. In the end though, I gotta say that Project Power isn't a bad film, but there's so much wasted potential on display that it's more of that rather than a compelling action film. Like I said, I thought the performances were top-notch from the leads, and I think the action sequences were exciting to watch, but Project Power suffers the same problem that Old Guard did, by introducing an interesting concept in the beginning portion of the movie, and using that just as a plot device to follow a generic plot line, which isn't going to make the movie that memorable at all. I mean, I guess if you're not that anal about a story, and you just want to see some amazing action sequences on display with some pretty visuals, then I think you'll find yourself enjoying this film. However, for someone like me that wants to see a compelling storyline with such a unique concept, I gotta say that I was pretty let down. Really, all it is just another average Netflix film, which is passable, but it's definitely not going to be memorable. It's not a great film, but certainly not a bad film. So I'm going to go ahead and just give Project Power 7 out of 10 pill bottles.
You gotta find out what you do better than anybody else and rock that. How you gonna leave your mark?
But anyways, I'd like to know, what do you guys think of Project Power? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you not care to watch it? I'd love to know in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate it if you leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more future movie content. Thank you guys so much for joining me in this review. Look forward to more very soon. And until the next one, you guys, I'll see you later.